Build here, grow anywhere. Very simple words, yet very powerful words. My name is Ryan. I'm the head of business development and partnerships for the Moonbeam Foundation. For those of you that are not that familiar with Moonbeam, we are the gateway to cross-chain communications, cross-chains, and cross-chain services. Through our incredible partnerships with GMP protocols such as Wormhole, Axelar, and Layer 0, we give dApps that build on top of Moonbeam access to liquidity, users, and apps across 100 other blockchains. We have a very, very invigorating and growing ecosystem of DeFi, DePIN, RWAs, and gaming. And if you don't believe me, you're welcome to ask any of our 200 plus dApps that are actively building on Moonbeam. And in fact, why don't I introduce you to Hans? Hans is the founder and CEO of Diode, which is a DePIN project built on Moonbeam that just so happens to cross the chasm to RWAs. Over to you, Hans.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. So we're going to be a little bit different from some of the other things you've been seeing today, whereas a lot of these folks are kind of tied more to the fintech side. Diode is tied pretty extremely to the real world side. And so really excited to talk to you about how our DePIN network also crosses the chasm to an RWA. As most of you guys have also, my background is in Web 2 technologies. I built a top 10 Gartner ranked Internet of Things platform, many millions of devices under management, but we realized we needed a better way to connect devices, not only IoT devices, but also cell phones and computers, et cetera. And so in 2019, we began working on a DePIN that allows any device to connect to any other device through an end-to-end encrypted tunnel using only their wallet address, okay? And so that's what our DePIN does. And what that means is as opposed to Web 2, where you're either using a ton of third parties, from a DNS name to a certificate authority, et cetera, to establish the connection, or you're using some sort of opaque server to bridge a connection. Now what you can use is our open source permissionless DePIN to establish end-to-end encrypted communications with only your wallet address and your wallet key and the open source DePIN network. What this looks like kind of in the real world today is right here. And the two orange dots, for example, are devices with a wallet on them. And if they want to connect to each other, basically they wake up, they find the nearest DePIN node that they can find, and then request the location of the other node. And the network then routes them using a routing protocol called Condemlia, and routes them together so they can connect and negotiate that tunnel solely based on their private keys. And so this is a very new way to basically securely communicate. It increases the security, it decreases fundamentally the cost, and it also increases the performance, right? Because if you're communicating in Salt Lake City, you don't have to go back to a data center in Fremont to do so. You can hit your nearest DePIN node and all of your communications stay within Salt Lake City. At the underlying level, the DePIN nodes are being paid for their bandwidth, right? And so our token is a bandwidth token. And so therefore, as the growth in the network, we did about 21 terabytes in bandwidth last month. And so, and these DePIN nodes basically sell us bandwidth based on what they're paying for bandwidth. So it becomes a commodity market there. And so our token is kind of a proxy for commodity bandwidth. We have many applications on the network, but I want to show you one of our kind of pioneering applications that is a high security replacement for Slack or Discord. And so if you look, today people think of Signal or WhatsApp, all end-to-end encrypted. Those are typically consumer applications where you're communicating with somebody else. We're able to very easily build applications on here that allow groups of people or teams to communicate, or even web apps to communicate in an end-to-end encrypted way. And so this app has chat, files, and VPN in it, and there's no data ever on servers. The devices themselves are both the client and the server, so it's fully decentralized. And then all of the identities are self-custody, and so there are no phone numbers or email addresses or anything like that included. if you scan the QR code, you can download the app. So here's the app, and you can see I have different teams and organizations organized here in what we call zones. But then up here, you can see this is my identity, this LF3rd. It's a DID on our chain. And I have many different wallets and many different identities I can interact with other people and other teams as part of. So just like MetaMask, you can choose your wallet in this environment. You can choose, what your wallet you're interacting with. And if I go up here to profile and I go, not there, if I go down to, account details, for example, I can see here's my Moonbeam identity, right? And I have 3 devices, 3 different computers or phones or whatever that I have that are registered, that are authorized to control this identity contract. And then if I click that, well, I'm not going to show you because I opened on my other screen. But anyway, I have a Moonbeam identity contract that is basically a multi-sig contract there. That you can see the Spine House. And so anyway, so then you, in these zones themselves, you have the traditional, DM, I can communicate end-to-end encrypted with individuals, but then also you have your private chats and your group chats, pretty table stake for chat, right? And then you also have, I mentioned files, right? You have kind of a Google Drive or a Dropbox replacement, all end-to-end encrypted file sync. Here, you can think of it as like a decentralized BitTorrent, kind of a self-custody BitTorrent, where everybody in your zone is kind of a seed if they have the access to the file. So that's in there as well. But one of the things that people are using us for the most here are these bookmarks and the ability to do regional VPN, as well as the ability to connect directly to assets like routers and other things. And so if I click this, get my mouse back. Bam. There we are. Okay, so you can see here, I'm all of a sudden surfing the internet as if I'm in Dallas, Texas, or I can surf the internet as if I'm in Santiago, Chile, or I can access a router, that is remotely in my office in Oregon, etc. And each of these pieces, they have their own wallet. And so I'm able to directly connect to those through those tunnels. We can pass anything, chat messages, files, internet connections, etc. And so that's a demo of DPIN meets RWA. And as the Diode network grows, the bandwidth token will become very interesting as an oracle for commodity bandwidth for RWAs.
And to contribute to the science, they just scan the QR code. They're able to run a node engage or whatever else it is, right? Perfect. And then if you scan the code at the bottom there, because we wouldn't leave it without some interesting information, you'll get a whole bunch of links. One is how to contact any of us, more information around Moonbeam, a lot more about what we're doing. And please do come by and say hi, because I'd love to hear a lot more about what you're building, what you're doing in the space as a whole, and how we can better connect. So thank you very much. And thank you to Tyler, Travis, and Ray for pulling this all together.